Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. Welcome to Chemistry Class C2. We will be starting from Unit 14, Salts and Identification of Ions. And resources which are used to cover this topic is your chemistry book written by Christopher N. Prescott, Unit 14, page number 190 to 192. Education video is also given at the end of the lesson. You can also consult chemistry matters. And methodology is that discussion and explanation of the topic is done through audio and visual aids. Diagrams are also given for more conceptual clearance. Education videos are also provided at the end of the lesson, which will be helpful for better understanding of topic. When the topic will be completed, a homework assignment is also given which you need to solve. Now the recalling of previous knowledge. As you know that a salt consists of positive ion, which is called cation of an acid, and the negative ion, anion of a base. Over here you know that salt is an ionic compound which consists of positive ion and negative ion. Positive ion is called cation and negative ion is called anion. And this salt is formed by the reaction between an acid and a base, and that reaction is called neutralization reaction. The next one is that salts are prepared by reacting an acid with a metal or a base such as metal carbonate, hydroxide or oxide. That this is their general method of preparation. That salts are prepared by the reaction of metal and acid. That can be metal oxide and acid, metal carbonate and acid, metal hydroxide and acid. Now over here you can see that the acid provides the non-metal ion for the salt, for example chloride or sulfate or nitrate ions. In this case, just like if hydrochloric acid, it will provide chloride ion. If the acid is sulfuric acid, it will provide sulfate ion, and if the acid is nitric acid, it will provide nitrate ions. Now the metal or base that provides the metal ion for the salt, for example sodium or copper. Now the objectives of this lesson are: describe the use of aqueous sodium hydroxide and aqueous ammonia to identify the following aqueous cations: aluminium, ammonium, calcium, copper 2 ions, iron 2 ions, iron 3 and zinc ions. Describe the test to identify the following anions: carbonate ion, chloride ion, iodide ion, nitrate ion and sulfate ion. Describe the test to identify the following gases: ammonia, carbon dioxide, chlorine, hydrogen, oxygen and sulfur dioxide. Describe a chemical test for water. Now introducing chemical analysis. When we are going to analyze the chemical compound, we use two types of analysis: qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. In qualitative analysis, that is used to identify chemical species, that is elements, compounds and ions present in an unknown substance. Quantitative or volumetric analysis is used to determine the amount or concentration of these chemical species, elements, compounds and ions present in it. Now let's talk about qualitative analysis. That in qualitative analysis we identify any unknown compound. Let's take the example of common salt NaCl. By using qualitative analysis, we will be able to know that sodium cation and chloride anion are present in NaCl. Another important point, that in qualitative analysis, always remember there will be a test for the metal cation and there will be another test for the anion part. Now in quantitative or volumetric analysis, which we have studied earlier, that is also called the titration method. In titration method, we will find out the amount or concentration of any of unknown chemical species. Now the next is use of physical test to identify a substance. Additional tests are needed to identify a substance, that is color, smell, solubility of the substance in water and pH of the solution. Now let's start our topic, that is identification of ions. The number one is testing for cations. You know that cations are positively charged ions, and aqueous sodium hydroxide and aqueous ammonia can be used to identify cations in salts. So we can say that cations can be identified from the color of the precipitate if the precipitate dissolves in excess alkali. Now the metal ions, which are also called positively charged ions. When metal ions are reacted with hydroxide ions, a displacement reaction generally occurs since most metal hydroxides are insoluble in water. Over here, when we are saying that most metal hydroxides are insoluble in water, these are also called the bases. And you know that group 1 hydroxides, for example sodium hydroxide, they are soluble in water. So we are going to detect the metal ions by the reaction of sodium hydroxide, which is a strong alkali, and this which is soluble in water. And so if a solution of sodium hydroxide is mixed with the solution of another metal ion, a precipitate is formed. Now over here a precipitate is formed. Now you know that a precipitate is an insoluble solid which is formed when we are testing the cations, and these precipitates only form when a metal ion in solution joins with hydroxide ion in solution to form an insoluble metal hydroxides. Another important point that the transition metal hydroxides produced tend to be uniquely colored. You know that transition metals are colored compound. When these hydroxides are formed, they are colored, and so they allow easy identification of the particular metal ion that is present. For example, iron 2 hydroxide is green, iron 3 hydroxide is red, and copper 2 hydroxide is blue in color. Now we are going to study metal ions or cations in detail. Aluminium, ammonium, calcium, chromium 3, copper, iron 2, iron 3, zinc and lead ions. You can see that there are total 8 or 9 types of cations which are in your syllabus and which will be studied in detail. And we are using two reagents for the testing of these cations. Number one is sodium hydroxide, which is a strong alkali, and aqueous ammonia, which is a weak alkali. We will be adding the reagents in drop wise, that is 3 to 4 drops first, followed by an excess amount. You can see that two observations must be recorded over here. Number one is color of the precipitate, if any, that any of the color which is formed, that will be recorded. The number two, solubility of the precipitate in excess reagents and the color of the resulting solution. So by using these two observations, we can deduce the identity of the cation. Now there is a table for the testing of aqueous cations. The number one is ammonium ion. By adding aqueous sodium hydroxide, ammonia gas is produced, which turns damp red litmus paper blue. And aqueous ammonia, there will be no test with the aqueous ammonia. In aluminium, on adding few drops of sodium hydroxide, white precipitates are formed, and these white precipitates, they are soluble in excess, giving a colorless solution. And in case of ammonia, when we add few drops of aqueous ammonia, white precipitates are formed and which are insoluble in excess. The next is the zinc ions. On adding few drops of aqueous sodium hydroxide, white precipitates are formed, which are soluble in excess, giving a colorless solution. In case of aqueous ammonia, white precipitates are formed which are soluble in excess, giving a colorless solution. In calcium, in case of calcium ions, white precipitates are formed which are insoluble in excess, and when we are testing them with aqueous ammonia, no precipitate is formed or very slight white precipitates are formed. Copper ions, light blue precipitates, insoluble in excess. And in case of aqueous ammonia, when we add few drops of aqueous ammonia, light blue precipitates are formed which are soluble in excess, giving a dark blue solution. Chromium ions, on adding few drops of sodium hydroxide, green precipitates are formed which are soluble in excess. And in case of aqueous ammonia, grey-green precipitates are formed which are insoluble in excess. When we are going to test iron 2 ions, green precipitate, insoluble in excess. On adding aqueous ammonia, green precipitates which are again insoluble in excess. Iron 3 ions, red-brown precipitates which are insoluble in excess, and red-brown precipitates which are insoluble in excess in case of aqueous ammonia. Now from the previous table, that is test for aqueous cations, we have observed that there are different observations on addition of aqueous sodium hydroxide in few drops and then in excess. For example, Sodium hydroxide is added slowly and then in excess to the solutions of these salts. The zinc and aluminium and lead form white gelatinous hydroxide precipitates that redissolve on addition of excess sodium hydroxide. Calcium ions also form white precipitates, but they are insoluble in excess. Copper 2 ions, they forms a light blue hydroxide precipitates that does not redissolve on addition of sodium hydroxide. Iron 2 and iron 3 respectively, they form green and brown hydroxides precipitates that do not redissolve on addition of excess sodium hydroxide solution. Now the test cations with aqueous ammonia. Aluminium ion and lead ion, they form white precipitates on addition of few drops of ammonia and they are insoluble in excess. Calcium ions, they form no precipitates on addition of few drops or excess ammonia. Zinc ions, they form white precipitates which are soluble in excess, giving a colorless solution. Copper ions, they form light blue precipitates and these precipitates are soluble in excess, giving a dark blue solution. Iron 2, they give green precipitates which are insoluble in excess. Iron 3 ions, they give red-brown precipitates which are insoluble in excess. Now the testing of chromium free ions and ammonium ions with aqueous sodium hydroxide and aqueous ammonia. In case of chromium ions, grey-green precipitates are formed which are insoluble in excess. Ammonium ions, the ammonium cations, they produces ammonia gas on warming with aqueous sodium hydroxide. This is the only common alkaline gas which has pungent smell and turns moist red litmus paper blue. From all these observations, we come to conclude two important points, that metal cations in aqueous solutions, they can be identified by the color of the precipitates. They form on addition of sodium hydroxide and ammonia. First of all, the solution is tested with sodium hydroxide and then aqueous ammonia. The use of aqueous ammonia is very important because in case of sodium hydroxide, many of the metals, they produces the same precipitates. So when we test them with aqueous ammonia, we can confirm the presence of any of the cation. The second point, which is very important, that these solutions, that is aqueous ammonia or sodium hydroxide solutions, that must be added very slowly. If they are added too quickly and the precipitate is soluble in excess, then there is the risk of missing the formation of the initial precipitates which dissolve as quickly as it forms if excess solution is added. So these 2 points must be considered. They are very important. Now come to our next topic, that is testing for anions. You know that anions are negatively charged ions, and over here we will study about nitrate, carbonate, chloride, iodide, sulfate and sulfite ions in detail. And the test for these carbonate, chloride, iodide and sulfate ions, they often involve the precipitation reactions. Now let's discuss these tests for anions in detail. In case of carbonate ion, add dilute acid, carbon dioxide gas is produced which makes lime water cloudy. Chloride ion, bromide ion and iodide ion. In order to test these 3 types of ions, we will add nitric acid and then add aqueous silver nitrate. In case of chloride ions, white precipitates are formed, and in case of bromide ions, cream precipitates are formed, and in case of iodide ions, yellow precipitates are formed. Now in order to confirm the presence of nitrate ions, add aqueous sodium hydroxide, then add aluminium powder. Ammonia gas is produced which turns damp red litmus paper blue. In order to test sulfate ions, add nitric acid, then add aqueous barium nitrate. White precipitates are formed which confirms the presence of sulfate ions. Now in order to test sulfite ions, add dilute acid, HCl and warm gently. Sulfur dioxide gas is produced which turns acidified potassium magnate from purple to colorless. Now from the previous table we have observed that there is no particular pattern for testing non-metal ions. The halide ions, which are chloride, bromide and iodide, they are tested by adding nitric acid followed by aqueous silver nitrate and noticing the color of the precipitate formed. Carbonate ions, they react with acids to liberate carbon dioxide gas, which can be tested for by passing the gas through lime water. Sulfate ions will undergo a displacement reaction when added to acidified aqueous barium nitrate or barium chloride. A white precipitate of barium sulfate is formed. Nitrate ions are tested by warming with aqueous sodium hydroxide and little aluminium powder. This produces ammonia gas, which can be tested for by placing damp red litmus paper in the gas. If it turns blue, then a basic gas has been given off, and that must be ammonia. Now come to our next topic, that is testing for gases and water. When testing for gases, it is not sufficient to say that the gas is colorless, odorless or insoluble in water. Most gases are colorless, just like oxygen, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, ammonia, etc. And many gases are odorless, just like hydrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, etc. or fairly insoluble in water, just like oxygen and hydrogen, etc. So we have to test the gases with particular test in order to confirm the presence of gases. For example, for hydrogen, a lighted wooden splint makes a popping sound in a test tube of hydrogen. In case of oxygen, a glowing wooden splint relights in a test tube of oxygen. In case of carbon dioxide turns lime water milky. A lighted wooden splint goes out in a test tube of carbon dioxide, but this happens with other gases too. So the lime water test is a better choice. In case of ammonia, ammonia has a characteristic sharp, pungent smell. It also makes damp red litmus paper turns blue. Ammonia forms a white smoke of ammonium chloride when hydrogen chloride gas from concentrated hydrochloric acid is held near it. Chlorine has a characteristic sharp, choking smell. It also makes damp blue litmus paper turns red and then bleaches it white. Chlorine makes damp starch iodide paper turns blue black. Now look at this table carefully. That is the testing for gases. Ammonia, the test is damp red litmus paper, and result, if positive, then red litmus paper turns blue. Carbon dioxide, add lime water turns milky. Means carbon dioxide turns lime water milky. The next is the chlorine gas. Damp litmus paper. Blue litmus paper turns red. And in case of universal litmus paper, that also turns red. Then both are bleached white. In case of hydrogen gas, when a lighted splint comes into contact with hydrogen, it goes pop. That a pop sound is produced. In case of oxygen, a glowing splinter when comes into contact with oxygen gas, splint bursts into flame. Now the next is the testing for water. Copper sulfate test for water. Copper sulfate experiment. Pure copper 2 sulfate is white. It is also known as anhydrous copper 2 sulfate because it has no water in it. When water is present in a sample of copper 2 sulfate, it turns blue. It is still a dry solid because the individual water molecules are trapped within the ionic lattice surrounding the copper 2 ions. Solutions of copper 2 sulfate are also blue. This color change can be used to detect the presence of water or water vapors. Cobalt chloride test for water. Water can also be detected using blue anhydrous cobalt 2 chloride. This turns pink in the presence of water. That when cobalt 2 chloride paper comes into contact with water, then this paper turns pink in presence of water. Now the recap of the lesson. Number 1 is testing for cations. We have studied the different tests for cations. Now from all that, we know that cations are positively charged ions. Aqueous sodium hydroxide and aqueous ammonia can be used to identify cations in salts. And these cations can be identified from the color of the precipitate and if the precipitate dissolves in excess alkali. The next is the testing for anions. You know that anions are negatively charged ions. and anions can be tested by using different tests. Similarly, different gases and presence of water can be tested by using different tests. Here I have also listed some video links, and you may click on each of it to extend your knowledge.